Hi, I'm so happy to have you here with me today. My name is Tiffany. My family and I are one of 68 chicken farms in Saskatchewan, and today we are going to show you a little bit more about our farm and what it means to raise broiler chickens. So this is one of the chicks we have here. He is 8 days old already. At 8 days old, you can see they are starting to grow their white feathers. I really wish you guys could be here with me in person today, but biosecurity is such an important thing on our farm that we take very seriously. So what biosecurity means is that we are just trying to prevent any sort of illness or bacteria that we may not want from entering our barns. We place roughly 40 to 45,000 chicks in each barn, which are totaling roughly around that 90,000 chicks per cycle, per flock. The number that we place is going to vary based on the weight we are growing our chickens to. So what is a broiler chicken? A broiler chicken is a chicken that's raised for meat. So just like there's different kinds of cattle, some cattle are dairy cattle for dairy products, and some are beef for our hamburgers and our meat. There's also different kinds of chicken. So there's chicken farms that are laying egg farms for the eggs that we buy in the grocery stores. And our farm is a broiler chicken farm, which means our broiler chickens are for meat. So the way our chicken industry works is it runs on 8-week cycles. So on day 1, all of our chicks are placed in the barn. They are all less than 24 hours old. They are freshly hatched. The barns have been cleaned. There's fresh bedding, fresh straw on the ground when we place the chicks. The chicks are then grown for 34 days to a desired weight of 2.35 kg, and that number is determined by you, the consumer, what you're asking for at the grocery store. That is given back to us what people are buying at the grocery store, so we can provide what consumers want. In our barns, we have feed and water lines that give our chickens 24/7 access to food and water at all times. These are the water nipples, and they peck at those, and that is how they get water. The chicks, when they're freshly hatched and arrive in our barn, they know exactly where to go find water. And then these cups prevent the water from dripping onto the ground because we don't want their bedding to become wet. So we also have the feed pans that run the full length of the barn as well. So the water lines, there was 5 of those, and the feed lines, we have 4 in our barns. And the feed comes in through a piping system and through our electronic feed weigher. So what's really interesting is we are able to see the exact amount of kilograms that our chickens are eating every single day. And that is often the first indicator if chickens are healthy and thriving and going to grow as we want them to. Our chickens are never given steroids or hormones. Steroids and hormones have both been banned in chicken production in Canada for many, many years now. So this is an example of the feed that the chickens eat. It is a mixture of grain as well as a ration that we get from a feed company. So one thing my father-in-law always says is that the chickens probably eat better than we do. And the reason he says that is because we work with a feed nutritionist who is making sure that they are getting exactly what they need. On our particular farm, we are grain farmers as well as broiler chicken farmers. So on our land, we grow cereal crops like wheat or hulless barley that can feed our chickens. And then the remaining straw after harvest is made into big round bales like these here. This straw goes into the barns to put bedding on the ground for all the chicks. And we use about 8 of these great big round bales per barn when we're preparing for chicks to arrive. And not only that, but once the barns are empty, the manure is pushed from the barns into our big manure pile. And that manure pile is then spread on our land. And it is so rich in nutrients that we are often able to reduce our fertilizer requirements by up to 50% on that land. Our barns are run by a computer system, so everything that we need, from what temperature we want the barns at to how much feed should be going out to the feed line, it's all plugged into this computer system. So here we can easily look up to see what the temperature is sitting at, and right now it's sitting at 31 degrees Celsius. So when the chicks first arrive, it's very warm at 35 degrees, and now at day 8 that temperature can be dropped a little bit. So this computer system also allows it to be connected to my husband's phone. And if there's ever an issue in our barns, it sends an alert to his phone. So sometimes at 3 in the morning, the barn will be calling my husband's phone, and he then comes out here to see what's going on. It might be a feed line that has stopped working, or maybe the ventilation system. If we have a winter storm, the ventilation system needs to be double checked to make sure that there's no snow buildup. So that's the kind of things that we are able to do with this computer system. You know, if we ever take a trip to town or have to leave the farm, my husband can also check on his phone that everything is working while we step away. So on our barn, we have great big fans on either end of the barn. And if you look all along the sides of the walls, you can see all the little squares. That is our ventilation system. And then alongside the fans and our ventilators, we can keep airflow and humidity at an appropriate level. Okay, so this is our chart where we like to track everything in our barns. We track the weights, we track the temperatures, everything to how much water and how much feed they're eating, so that we know exactly how our chickens are doing. And that is a really critical component to know if they are growing as they should be, if there may be any issues. That this might be the first indicator. So every day on our farm, we have barn chores to do. When we do our barn chores, the barns are walked up and down twice every day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And what we're checking for is that the chicks are healthy and thriving. We ensure that the water lines, the feed lines are working, the feed bins are full, and we just want to ensure that there's no issues out here. The moment there is anything wrong, our farmers that are walking the barns, they pick up on it instantly. When we do suspect something going on in our flock, we can call up our vet. So we have a vet that works alongside our farm. They know us, they know our farm, and they can quickly come out, assess the flock, and determine if any sort of antibiotics might be needed. So if there are antibiotics needed, our vet is writing a prescription for us. It's only in special circumstances that we would utilize it to ensure the health of our flock and that our animals are well cared for. We wouldn't want to let an animal suffer unnecessarily. So that is why we do use antibiotics as a tool when needed. So essentially all meat is considered antibiotic free, and that is because in the case that we do have to use antibiotics, there is also something called a withdrawal period. So what a withdrawal period means is we have to stop using those antibiotics by a certain point of time before the chickens go to processing. And that amount of time, those days, allow all antibiotic residue to no longer be present in the chicken and ultimately our end product that we are buying at the grocery store. In Saskatchewan, there are 2 processing plants, and the one we ship to is in Wynyard. The other that some farmers ship to is in Saskatoon. So once these barns are empty, these feed and water lines, they can actually be raised up to the ceiling to create a wide open space. And then once manure is pushed out, the barns are cleaned, pressure washed. They are empty for 2 weeks approximately, and then we get to do it all over again. So that leaves us placing about 6 to 7 flocks a year. So on our farm, sustainability is always top of mind, and while chicken farms already have a relatively low carbon footprint, we're always trying to challenge ourselves. How can we further reduce that? And one of the ways we are doing that on our farm is by solar panels. Solar panels are also perfect in Saskatchewan because we live in one of the sunniest provinces in Canada. Yes, we might get down to -40 in winter, but that sunshine is always there. So what's really special about the chicken industry in Saskatchewan and all of Canada is that we are a supply managed industry. And what makes this so special is that it is designed so that supply equals demand. And when we have this kind of system in place, farmers need to own quota for the right to produce chicken. It allows us to set the bar high when it comes to producing chicken. We have rules and regulations in place in terms of animal care and on-farm food safety, as well as sustainability. And because we can set the bar high with these standards, and all farmers have to adhere to these rules and regulations, I believe we are producing the best chicken in the world.
Hi, my name is Nikki Storbakken. I work for Prairie Pride and I provide field service to the broiler chicken producers across Saskatchewan. Today we are at one of 68 broiler farms in Saskatchewan. This farm is receiving approximately 125,000 broiler chicks that were just hatched this morning. The first 24 hours to 7 days of life are the most crucial when setting up the flock for success. Today, these chicks weigh approximately 42 grams. The goal in the next 7 days is to reach 4 times their current body weight. How we do that is by maintaining optimal barn conditions, which means starting with a clean barn and fresh bedding. These chicks need easy and immediate access to good quality feed and water. The barn temperature should be 32 degrees with good quality air and ventilation. The chicks also need lots of light to encourage them to move freely amongst the barn to find their own level of comfort. In 24 hours, we will check for crop fill, which is a small pouch on the base of the neck that should be full of feed and water. Let's let the growing begin. Today, the chicks are approximately 7 days old and they are doing great. They have surpassed the goal of reaching 4 times their body weight. The flock is averaging at 195 grams today. From here on out, we want to make sure that the flock has free access to feed and water and limit any stress from happening in the barn. The chicks will be fed this ration for about 7 more days, and then we will switch to a grower ration, which will accommodate the age and proper growth of the bird. They will need good quality feed with protein, probiotics, and nutrients. As the chicks start to get older and larger, we will decrease the barn temperature and the light intensity to keep the flock as comfortable and stress-free as possible. Today our chicks are 14 days old and weigh approximately 500 grams. The bird's average daily gain this week is between 40 and 60 grams. The goal at this stage will be to develop a strong immune system, strong bones, and a great cardiovascular system. Optimizing great carcass quality and of course ensuring the welfare of the flock is adequate. They look great. Today is day 21. The flock is now approximately 900 grams and consuming 91 grams of feed per day. The goal is for the birds to eat plenty, drink water, and get as much rest as possible so they can keep growing big and strong. Our goal is to make bodybuilders, not long-distance runners. They will be switching to a new feed soon that will have increased energy to accommodate for fast-growing bodies and produce good quality, tasty meat.
Today the sauce is finished in feed bowls. They're just over 2 kilograms and they are ready for us to enjoy. They will gain about 85 grams a day over the next couple days and consuming about 175 grams of feed per day.
Thank you for following along on this journey of growing a broiler chicken in Saskatchewan.